entire night. And it was just fun to see how the students took ownership of this production and moved it forward. So we appreciate all the work that Greg does. It's a very important program at our school, and we thank him for all his efforts. Our second best practice is to engage and enrich student literacy. Cass Wagner is our third grade teacher and reading specialist and is here to share some of the exciting things we are doing in the areas of literacy.
And you can see on the slide are a list of programs and activities that have proven successful for us here at Trinity. We try to offer these activities to just enrich our student literacy across the curriculum. Many of these activities are language arts based, but some cover other curricular areas as well. The first one listed is the Artist in Residence program. And that's a program that's sponsored by the Minneapolis Institute of Art, and we have parent volunteers that can go to get training. It's a different program every year, and what they do is they bring out to the classrooms reproductions of actual art prints that are in the Minneapolis Institute of Art. And then the children learn about those artists and participate in some hands-on art activities as a follow-up activity to learning about the pieces. Some of the grades then also later in the year actually take a field trip to the Art Institute so they're able to see the real pieces of art. The second one listed is a First Move chess curriculum, which this year is in grades 2, 3, and 4. And it emphasizes critical thinking and just learning strategies. We do it in the classrooms weekly for about 45 minutes to an hour each lesson. They're interactive lessons. They watch a little DVD. They practice different moves with the chess pieces. And then it's followed by them actually getting to play chess games during the sessions. There's an online component where students can practice and do tournaments online. We also have a tournament in the spring here at school among all the students. Literacy Night is an event that we sponsor for preschool through grade 1. And one of the reasons that we wanted to do it at this level is we were trying to think of a way to bridge getting our preschool families a little more familiar with our K-8 program. So it's offered in the evening where they come with their parents. They can sign up for 3 or 4 different sessions that they can do where a story is read to them, and then there's some follow-up activities as well. On Literacy Night, the readers that are in the sessions sometimes are people from the community. We've had policemen, we've had firemen, we've had the mayor. Sometimes they're just other staff people and teachers from our school. And then they just come with their parents and just kind of enjoy a night together and get to know other parents from the class as well. The poetry reading is a program that our 7th graders do. They write poetry during their classroom time, and then they have an afternoon where they invite parents in for like a poetry tea, where they can actually read the poetry they have read and do a little performing of their writing. The Reading Buddies is a program done every other week. We match our kindergartners up with our 8th graders and our 1st graders up with our 7th graders. And they spend some time together just building relationships by reading books together. Sometimes the older kids read to the younger students, and sometimes the younger students get a chance to read for their older buddies as well. The Reading Challenge is a program that Mr. Ash started for grade 1 and 2, and it's to try to get them to do some outside extra reading. It's usually done in the spring of the year. And then they make a little footprint from their classroom to his office for every book that they've read. And when their class gets their footprints all the way to his office, that's followed up by some kind of a reward. Research papers are done in grades 6 through 8 to try to help build those skills that we know that they'll need in high school. The state projects are done in 4th grade, and the students pick a state, do some research on their own, present a report, and then they will have their reports displayed with maybe samples of food from that state or clothing or products or just anything that's important to the state. And then they share that in their oral report. And then the last three kind of go along with our reading curriculum. The Accelerated Reader Program, many of you are familiar with that. We use that school-wide. RAS Kids is a program that's an online leveled reading program, and that's used in grades K through 2. And then we also have a Scholastic Book Fair a couple times a year to encourage, again, outside reading with families and children at home. So those, like I said, are activities that have proven successful for us, and we hope that you will be able to try some of these yourself. If there are any questions, you may email me at cass.wagner@trinitywaconia.org.
Thank you, Cass. We know that the emphasis in literacy is having an effect on our students as we look at statewide testing that we're involved in. And every year, our students have been at the very top reading levels within our state. So we're very excited about this program. Thanks, Cass, for sharing that with us. Our third practice is technology integration. We here at Trinity, we're committed to equipping students for faith, life, and learning in the 21st century. We have strived to incorporate technology into a traditional and proven curriculum so that our students remain grounded and balanced in good educational practices while being equipped with skills necessary to be effective and successful learners at the next level. Technology integration for us here at Trinity began with a plan and has been successful because of the continuous training that we seek to provide. Our plan began with getting laptop computers into the hands of all our teachers. It was their computer to use at school, but also to take home. We wanted them to become familiar and feel comfortable with using a computer and to gain some confidence with technology in their life. The next part of our plan is we ask all of our teachers to become involved and take the class integrating technology into the classroom. This is a valuable class offered through the MTM program at Concordia University, Wisconsin. I think what this did was, one, it provided just a broad base of understanding of all the different kinds of activities and technology that is out there. And through the projects and assignments they had to do, I think they just gained and grew in their experience and their comfort level using technology. I think one of the most important aspects for our program has been bringing in a technology coach. This is someone who understands software, who understands teaching and teachers, and has done just a great job of walking alongside our teachers. They share with our technology coach what they would like to try to do in the classroom, and then she works hand in hand with them to bring about that activity, that technology, successfully in the classroom. We are a wireless campus. We want our students to be able to take their laptops around the campus and be able to access internet whenever they can. We then progressed to adding video systems into all of our classrooms. We wanted our teachers to be comfortable using video, to be able to integrate the internet and all the resources that were there. The next step was purchasing a portable lab. Right now, the portable lab services the upper grade students primarily, but that has been a valuable way of having students be able to just take that into the classroom and incorporate it in lessons and for assignments and in projects that they do. We also have a computer lab also that provides a service to the rest of our students. From the video systems, we went to smart boards, and we're grateful that at this point every classroom has smartboard technology in it. It's an interactive technology, and our students, or excuse me, our teachers have continued to receive training as this is something new for us. But more and more it's being integrated and used by students and teachers as part of their instruction. We see wikis, podcasts, blogs, teacher websites, PowerPoint, YouTube. All of these aspects of technology are now being integrated in what the students do as well as what the teachers are doing in the classroom. And we have worked to really design instruction now that includes technology as a part of that instructional design. And then finally, we've been using FastDirect, which is a web-based program for our parents, allowing them access to assignments, to grades, and to access to teachers through email and various links that are posted on teacher bulletin boards. Our fourth best practice is intergenerational learning. We feel there are two very special groups of people that share a common place in our society. One is considered to be too young and the other is considered too old to contribute in a significant way. At Trinity, we feel both children and seniors have a great deal of value and can bring great joy to one another. We have been intentional about creating intergenerational learning opportunities that have impacted our students and are making a difference in the lives of seniors in our community. At this time, I would like to introduce Bonnie Stockman. Bonnie is our first grade teacher. She is here to share how intergenerational learning is integrated into our curriculum.
Good afternoon. It brings me great joy to intentionally bring youth and senior citizens together in relationship and in service and in learning. And on your screen, you see some slides about an activity that I have been involved in for about 5 years now. Traditionally, when we think of partnering with senior citizens, we think about going off-site and singing to them and then coming back to school and then we're finished. Well, about 5 years ago, I thought, well, there's a senior citizen group that comes into our building every month. Why not capitalize on that opportunity? So I asked the program people from our senior citizen group that meet here if we could come and spend about 15 minutes and just sing to them and maybe read with them. And it was on a trial basis. They said, yeah, you can try for about 2 months and then see how that works. Well, it was so well received that it was immediately extended to about 30 or 35 minutes. And we sing and do art projects. We get partnered, one student with an adult senior citizen. And before we leave each other, we exchange names for partners, which we are committed to for that month. And then the next month when we come back and visit with each other, we try to match up the partner, the first grade partner with the senior citizen. And that relationship really develops. They delight as they see each other at church, in the community. Also, it's been extended that when we have a class party like a fellowship, some of the senior citizens are involved in coming in and helping with some of the group activities. When we had our non-public marathon just 2 weeks ago, some of the same senior citizens came and helped be trail monitors, and everybody just delights in that partnership that we find. And at the end of the year, each of our seniors gets a thank you card for being such a good friend to our students, and most of all for just that broad support that they give to the school as a whole. So that just has turned out to be a surprise blessing. And you can see in the pictures how sometimes they kind of work in bigger groups, and sometimes it's one-on-one. And each year now, as the seniors plan their new group activity for the year, they say, oh, we just would like the students to participate with us again this year. Okay, The next slide shows the sixth grade special shut-in meal. Actually, the meal is sponsored by our congregation, and we partner with them. And middle school students come to that meal, sometimes even making the placemats that these special homebound or shut-in seniors would be served. First of all, there would be the worship service, and then they're specially taken to a large room where they're served a meal, and then our students participate in that mealtime activity. They get to interact with the seniors, become friends, and share some time together and be a blessing to each other. The other two slides on here talk about May baskets, and some of our primary students, whether they're in second or third grade, delight in this time of the year when they have this tradition of delivering May baskets to the shut-ins in our congregation or some of the people that live right around our school. The May baskets always have some scripture encouragement with them. One of the families commented how their elderly mother looked forward to this time of spring because they knew Trinity students would be visiting them, and that was just a very bright spot in their springtime. And on the next screen, we have the fifth graders' letters to seniors. So whether it's a fifth grade or sixth grade, depending upon how it works out in our school for the year, we partner with the learning that happens in our English grammar classes, writing letters, addressing envelopes, and we use a list created by our care ministry at our church, and a student is partnered with a senior, and they draw pictures and write letters. Pictures get posted on refrigerators, just like when primary students bring things home to their families. Only this develops a relationship with this senior, and as they receive those letters, some of them are even moved to write back to the students in school. In some of these just recent past years, some of our seniors have passed on to heaven, and the students have attended the funerals or sent flowers. And now some of these seniors would also be included in that special shut-in meal that we just talked about. So there's different levels of involvement. There was just last year, one of our members who was very ill and in the hospital had one request, and that was that his pile of letters at home from his special letter writing partner would be delivered to the hospital so that he could read them over and over for his enjoyment and comfort. Another area on this screen is Grandparents' Day. Grandparents are a special blessing to our school ministry as a whole, to our students as individuals. And annually in the fall, we have a reception for our grandparents, and it starts with them coming into school, meeting with our principal, attending chapel with us, and then branching out and visiting classrooms and closing with a lunch. In fact, this year, with my 23 students in my room, I had over 30 grandparents in there all at one time. So they just enjoy coming to build partnerships, and that is a day where we find that information is given, and grandparents just are so proud that a child is a part of this school and they could be a part of our day. One of the other comments on this slide is about going out to sing at various care centers, and yes, we do that because that's a way that we can bring our love and our joy to them on their site. These ideas are things that any school can think about, to plan, to enjoy, to experience, and I encourage you to take these ideas that work at our school to try them, to modify, to see how they might fit into your ministry plan. Anybody with a question or an idea, even for us, that we could partner and share, can contact me at bonnie.stockman@trinitywaconia.org. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bonnie. Um, this program has just continued to grow, and I don't know that there's a specific program and curriculum that we do is of any more value. When we just completed Grandparents' Day, like Bonnie just talked about, and we had close to 300 grandparents. And when they're walking out the door and they're talking about what a wonderful school you have, I don't know that there's a better group of people who are out there sharing that word with the community. So thanks, Bonnie. We appreciate all that you shared. Our last best practice is growth and teamwork. This best practice was developed out of a situation where over the last 8 years, the seasoned and stable faculty and church staff were confronted with a new principal, new senior pastor, and a new executive director. That, together with a few new teachers and church staff members, there was a need to intentionally create a climate that fostered open communication, unity, and collaboration, fulfilling the mission and vision of Trinity Lutheran Church and School. We felt it was necessary to bring in a trained consultant who specialized in team development. Because she did not have any ownership of the situation, she was able to speak freely and openly with us. This was a year-long process centered around 4 workshops attended by all workers. Those 4 workshops are listed on your screen. From this year-long training, we have developed a staff-wide plan that has helped to bring alignment to our ministry and our work as a staff. The plan that came out of that year-long process, and I don't think sometimes as church and school we are as intentional about making sure we work together and put together a plan so that we can be in unity as we share the gospel of Christ. What came into our plan was every first Monday of the month is a all staff Bible study. This gives pastor an opportunity to kind of set the stage for his sermon series that is coming up. He also shares things that are going on within the ministry of the church. He talks about our vision and also shares the strategic planning process that is continually going on. We have developed C groups, and these groups are a mixture of teachers and staff, church staff, and support staff. And within these groups, they become a support group to one another. They're in prayer together. They talk about community and work through some issues that may be going on as we work together in ministry. We have a unified ministry study every year. This year we've been talking about the book Simple Church. We have been studying that book together, looking at how it has impact or could have impact on our ministry. And I think that's been valuable for us as well. We also have established a communication team, which has been very valuable in coordinating and providing a unified communication as well as creating a network of how we better can communicate with one another. And then finally, staff socials. I think that's often we get so busy in our daily and family lives that we never take time to just be together as a staff and have fun. And I think that has been a huge impact on how we interact with each other. These are our best practices. I was just quickly looking at some of the questions that was asked. Connie wanted to know if our tech coach is someone on our staff. We actually subcontract our technical support. So she is on in our school roughly about 4 to 6 hours a week. But we do get her through another subcontracted tech organization. The percentage of our students that belong to our church are roughly about 60% to 40%. That seems to be continually changing as we get more and more students from the community. Does the consultant help other schools? Yes, she is actually contracted out to several schools in our area as well. Again, if you have any questions on our best practices, please contact us. You can email me, randy.ash@trinitywaconia.org, and I will make sure your question gets directed to the person who can answer that the best way. At this point, I want to make this transition into something that we began last year, the NWEA MAPS testing program. We had done a year-long study of with our faculty and decided that we needed to adopt a different and new testing program that gave data and information that would allow us to better serve our students. This decision came out of our shared philosophy of being a learning community. When you look at the screen, you'll see there are 6 core attributes that identify a learning community. The one that drove our decision to look for a different type of testing program was collective inquiry. That specific attribute helped the staff here to look at curriculum alignment to learning needs, instructional strategies and ongoing alignment of professional development, and realize that those are things that need to be driven by data. We looked at formative assessments that we were doing with the Iowa Test of Basic Skills, but we did not feel that it provided enough significant data to drive how we best to meet the needs of our students. There's a great deal of information that can be shared regarding the MAPS test program. I will share the NWEA's website with you later, where you can find volumes of information beyond what we will share with you today. I'd like to break the presentation down according to a following outline. I'd like to share some initial thoughts with you, look at a general overview of the test. Heidi Powick, our test administrator, will share some practical information with you. We'll talk about the benefits and end with talking about things that principals are sometimes very involved in, and that's the cost. Some initial thoughts. The data that you will receive will drive you to a differentiated approach to instruction. To gain all the data and be able to know what the instructional level of each student is and not use that would really be a disservice. So this testing does drive you to a more differentiated approach to instruction. The data will allow you and parents just an unsurpassed view into a student's knowledge and learning. By 8th grade, parents will have a complete profile of students' academic growth over the years. Every year we will have a record of the testing that has gone on throughout that student's history at our school, and you will definitely be able to see over the years how that student has grown. MAPS testing is a process. We are in our 2nd year of working with the MAPS testing program, and we realize that we are still not there. It will take probably several more years till we finally embrace and can get our arms around all that this program offers our teachers and our students. So you have to be patient. You have to kind of work through and take a step-by-step approach as you're implementing this testing program. You do need technical support and management to be able to offer this testing program. Heidi will talk a little bit more about some of the technical aspects to this test, but we could not do it if we didn't have the technical support that we do. And then the professional training is essential. NWEA will provide that professional training, but it just allows you to kind of grow into each aspect of this test. Just a quick general overview. The NWEA is a global non-for-profit educational service organization with 30 years experience in developing adaptive assessment, professional development, and educational research. They advocate on improvement of learning through highly accurate and reliable data. MAPs are a computerized adaptive test. Traditional test questions involve questions appropriate for an average student at a particular grade level. The MAP computerized adaptive test will select and display a question that is appropriate for a typical grade level. From there on out, the computer will select questions specifically for a student depending on how he or she performs on all of the previous questions. The computer will continue to select questions, cycling through the gold strands until the student reaches the end of the test. The tests are developed from an extensive research focused on academic achievement across the country. The tests are also aligned with your state's curriculum standards. The MAPS tests are challenging for every student. Students are not expected to get every question right or every question wrong. The tests are untimed. Students are given as much time as they are needed to complete a test as long as they are making progress. The tests are given for internal accountability. They are not a comparison test. MAP is not a test for mastery. The test lets you know the instructional level of each student. Even though NWEA provides external norms, these are for a general reference. The test results are immediate. Once they are uploaded to NWEA, within 24 hours of the test, teachers are able to get student test results. At this time, I would like to introduce Heidi Powick. Heidi works with our special education and gifted program. She is also our test administrator, and she will share with you some information around the reporting that we receive through this test program.
There's several reports available to teachers, and we have just utilized a few of those at this time. We found, number one, the teacher report to be the most essential to us. And what that does, it's a printout of all of the students' individual RIT scores. And then it gives a percentile range for each of the students. It indicates their RIT to reading range score, which is their Lexile score for their reading level. It will give the mean and median of all the scores within that teacher's classroom. And it will also give the standard deviation of the scores, which would indicate to the teachers how diverse the learners are within that classroom. It's also very useful for instructional planning within the classroom. Another report is the primary grade teacher report skills, and that is a checklist that would view the overall class results, and they're displayed in colorful, as you see there, within the high, medium, and low performing students. And the class performance results include both unique skills and concepts measured by the specific test. And a sub-skill performance report helps teachers track individual students' performance by showing numbers of questions answered in addition to number answered correctly. And it gives both raw scores and as percentages. There's several more reports. The class breakdown by RIT score. The RIT score is a score that indicates this individual student's instructional level. So they consider it they are ready for instruction today at that level. And that report will really shows the teacher the individual diversity of this classroom. The class breakdown by goal report will take each subject area and then break it down even further. So for an example, in reading, They will then break down the individual subcategories, such as applying thinking skills to reading, or locating and selecting and using information while reading. And then it will take all of those subcategories and give individual RIT scores for each individual student. So you, at a glance, can see where each student is in each learning strand. And it will list students by name with their specific RIT score ranges. The school overview report will give us the students' proficiency in relation to growth by subject and by grade. And that is so the principals can easily assess the percentage of students likely to meet proficiency if they meet the MAP growth targets and those that have already met the growth standards. Our class, let's see, student projected performance report will give us a sample of what the students should be, what their projected growth should be. So a teacher can look at where their students' current level of performance is, and then the reports will give a projected level of where we'd like to see them achieve throughout the school year. The Lexile report will give us their reading range, so that way we can pass that information on to parents who are looking to find an appropriate reading level for their student. So we can look at a book order form, let's say, and we can point out to the student and the parent exactly what books would fit their current reading level. The website is also hooked up into several bookstores, such as Barnes & Noble, where a parent can even access and go directly to that website and order books for their child at their individual reading level. The student progress report is something that we're going to be trying this year for the first time, and that is where you meet with the student and explain where their current RIT score is, and then set a goal with that student and share with them ways they can improve their score, ways the teacher will help improve that score, and ways the parents can help their student progress. The student growth summary report is another report that will give the teacher indicating where the students are growing and how they can help them grow. The achievement status growth summary report is, let's see where that one is, lots of different reports we can access. That's another one where, again, it's a class report, and a lot of these reports are online, so we can look at the report online. You'll be indicating your whole class. It will give you a whole class range. Then you can click on an individual student, and they will show different categories on ways to help that student improve their individual score, and activities you can do with the parent at home to help improve that score. And then the district summary report by grade is another report for the principal that would list how the school is going, improving as a district, and it will list by individual students in ways, areas of growth and areas of excellence and strength for the student.
Also, you heard the term RIT scale. That's NWEA uses the RIT scale to measure a student's academic growth over time. Like units on a ruler, the scale is divided into equal intervals called RASH units, and it's independent of grade level. The Descartes, a continuum of learning, this is an invaluable tool to help a student become it's a valuable tool that provides detailed information about specific skills and concepts students are ready to learn. So you can go into the student report and you can click on their RIT score, and you can go directly to the Descartes, a continuum of learning, and it will show you what are some of the areas of instruction that child is able to deal with and work with. We talked about the student goal setting worksheet. This is critical because this really does allow students to become active participants and take ownership of their own learning and to set goals for themselves to work for through the school year. And the testing takes place fall, winter, and spring. We are currently doing all three, but some schools just do the fall and the spring testing. Heidi will share some practical information around the actual testing itself.
The technical requirements in order to provide MAPS testing for your students is that it does require its individual server for the computers, and the server would store the student and test database information, and it also requires a window-based computer. MAPS cannot run on a Mac computer for the server. Also, that server must be dedicated to the MAPS testing while the testing is in progress. You also need to have a test administration application workstation, which would be a program, an application program, which is on the computers, and that must have internet access and have access to the NTE server. You also need a test taker student workstation, and that is what the student uses to take the MAPS test, and that workstation must have access to the NTE server. For scheduling, we scheduled 1 hour for each class. That allowed time to give directions, have students take the test, and then set up the computers for the next class. Although all tests are untimed, on average it takes approximately 40 minutes for a student to complete a test. You also have the capability of pausing the test and resuming the test at a different time without losing any data. The reports, each test is individualized to that student based on response, as Randy indicated, and immediately when a student completes the test, their RIT score is immediately shown on the screen. So we recorded the RIT score and also the time that it took for this student to complete the test, and a copy of that was immediately given to the classroom teacher. So the classroom teachers had immediate feedback as to how well the student performed on that test. That RIT score is independent of the age or grade of the student, and it just, as we said, reflects the instructional level of the student. The reports, teacher reports are available again within 24 hours if the data is uploaded to NWEA. And again, it's broken down into the subcategories, and that data is really driven to encourage us to differentiate instruction for our classrooms. And then we can use the discards to provide targeted instructions for the individual students. Student goal setting would help students identify their strengths and areas concerned by sharing their overall RIT scores with them. Also, a goal setting worksheet is available through NWEA. And we are hoping that if the students are aware that they will be getting this feedback and meeting with the teachers, that they will be more likely to do their very best on the assessments. As far as sharing information with the parents, there are 2 separate reports available to be shared with the parents. One is in text only and another is in graph form. And each report displays how student is performing in relation to the class average as well as the normative group. And those reports again also give the Lexile reading scores. We are hoping to have our parent-teacher conferences be more student-driven through these reports. Also, the skills checklist for kindergarten and first grades. These are checklists that are available to the primary teachers at any time during the year. They're independent of the MAPS test. And what it does is it's a computerized test that's centered around a specific set of skills in reading and math. And it will provide immediate feedback to the teacher on the student's progress. And then that information can be shared with the parents.
Thank you, Heidi. I know we're coming to an end, so I just want to quickly talk about benefits. The fact that the information is given to us immediately, so teachers can take that information and begin to apply it right away. We don't have to wait to getting back a test 6 weeks later, and not always having that information to be able to use to help direct and improve instruction. The fact that they're aligned with state standards, you know that you're accomplishing and working on those standards along with other children in your state. And so the test being aligned with state standards has been very important for us. It has allowed teachers to organize their classroom and design instruction. One of our classes right now, when we completed the testing last spring, realized that there were 8 different band widths of learning within that classroom. 8 different levels where students were at instructionally. And so we actually have organized that classroom particularly and provided some additional support to help address all the different needs that are in that particular classroom. Heidi mentioned the Lexile report. I think that's huge. It guides teachers in helping them pick books for book reports. We share that with parents, so as they go into the summer, they can go to the library, share the Lexile report, and be able to get books that their students will be comfortable and be able to read. It definitely meets student needs. We know more about our students now than we ever have. We know that they may be in the areas of math, they may be at a 6th grade level in instruction in one gold strand or one instructional strand, but they may not be at even a 3rd grade level in another curriculum standard. So it just gives you a very focused picture of where your students are at. Students take ownership of their performance. They are actually now setting goals. They're working toward those goals. And what we are sure of, maybe they won't all reach their growth targets, but we are very sure that they will show growth throughout the school year. The Descartes learning, continuum of learning has been invaluable. Teachers can click on that. It tells you what different areas need to be addressed. They give you strategies to address those. You can actually go onto the NWEA website and pull down Smartboard lessons that also go along with those particular curriculum standards. It has given us some meaningful data. I was looking at one of the questions about, does it give us more useful results in the Iowa Test of Basic Skills? And I would say most definitely yes. We knew if a student was at or above or below grade level before, we could even go in and know that they missed, 3 out of 5 questions. But this test actually shows us exactly where our instructional level for those students are so that we can address that and help them to grow. And then I think while we haven't used it as much at this point, it will have a huge impact on how we look at developing curriculum. And finally, the cost. I know this is important. It's the startup cost is roughly around $2,700. There's a 12-month MAP licensing that is per year. It's $3,125. And then there's additional training. And I know, again, looking at some comments, the training is critical. We would not be able to do this program without the training. Unfortunately, the training is expensive. One of the things that NWEA will do is they will allow you to combine schools. So if you know of some other schools who are involved in MAPS, you can do some joint training with the other schools, and that allows you to share the cost to keep that down. But the first training we got was just in the test itself, how it worked. Then once we got the data, we did an in-service on how do we take that data, how do we interpret it, and then the third training is, now that we know all this information, how do we actually use it to begin to design instruction. And there are 2 more training sessions yet that we will need to go through before we really feel like we have put our arms around this testing program. I think we are out of time. Thank you. Please feel free to contact me if I can be of any help to you. We just pray God's blessings from our staff to yours, and I will stick around and we can answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy, for your presentation. I think we were all very much enriched. At this point, I want to remind you that next week, October 25th, we will be hearing from Concordia University Early Childhood Center, and that will begin at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Also remember to check your November mailing, school mailing, on the portal to get the latest edition of the Exemplary School's Best Practices sheet. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Randy will be standing by.
Thank you.